Starting soon.
I hit the OK button, and we are live streaming right now. And I hear Jerry in my ears.
Hey, are we? Are we live streaming right now?
We're live. Of course we're live.
Oh my God! Hi guys.
Hey guys. Oh, that's the wrong channel. Wrong channel.
Austin's like famous for that now.
That's his catchphrase. That's his tagline.
God damn it, Jay! Just roll the intro.
All right. Well, it seems like just yesterday that you were here, but it's weird that it was 2 weeks ago already.
I know, and I still got that freak. I'm still at the end of that sickness that I had when I got down there. So you guys got some shitty bugs down there in California. Oh my God.
Oh, it's out of control down here. Hit the OK button, and we are live streaming right now. And I hear Jerry in my ears.
Hey, are we? You can hear you right now?
Live, of course. I don't know where I hear me.
Oh my God! Hi. Are you going crazy?
Hey guys! Oh, that's wrong.
You better go meet the stream.
What is happening?
Austin's like, you gotta go meet the stream.
That's his catchphrase. That's his guys. I don't know what's happening.
God damn it, Jay! Just roll the intro.
All right.
Are you speech jamming yourself? What are you doing?
I can totally hear us, but I don't. Oh, there it is. I found it. Okay, guys, I fixed it. I had a tab open. I didn't know it. But when you have so many windows open for a show like this, it's like, where is it coming from? Hi guys.
All right, so the problems are out of the way in a record 1 minute. That is awesome.
So I just confirmed that Boogie is going to come on the show again for my 100K.
Oh, is he really?
Mm-hmm.
Old Bugs. Oh, that's awesome, man.
Boogie. Yeah, I got to meet him at, well, I already know him, but I got to meet him in person for the first time at VidCon. He's such a down-to-earth guy.
Well, I was reading all the tweets that people were tagging him in at VidCon, and they were like, they said that he was like the nicest guy they've like ever met, and like he was just like really down to earth and everything.
He's just as vulgar as you would expect him to be. But he's
that's what makes it fun, though.
He's a pretty amazing individual.
People only knew how vulgar we were off camera. Like if they thought we were bad on camera, oh my God, guys, when we were off camera,
yeah,
trust me, Jay and I found each other's. Well, actually, we didn't find each other's limits because I don't think we have them. But we were definitely throwing it all out there. I think it was like maybe an hour or two after we met, we were pretty much going full on crazy.
So some people might be surprised, but you and I have actually not talked much since you've been here, and just because everything is so busy in our lives. So what have you been up to?
So I've actually been working a lot more than usual. So
you mean like 40 hours a week?
Like well, 35, but no. Work's actually. I'm on a project right now that's like really critical to saving a lot of time and a lot of money and accelerating things. So I got to put as much effort into that as possible. So less time for videos, unfortunately, and plus, I'm trying to keep the wife and kid happy, so I'm spending more time with them too. In the afternoon after work and everything. I mean, I can only deprive them so long before they go and file paperwork at the courthouse to get rid of Dad. So I figured I would rectify that before it became a problem. So all in all, that's why I haven't been making a lot of videos lately. But I will be making a video tonight. I am going to finally be doing the audio transducer mounts.
Oh, that's only like 6 months in the making.
On the simulation, more like a year, dude. It's out of control. So I've got the 2 final prototypes printed here. I'm going to do a video on them later. We're going to test fit them to the simulator, and then I'm going to put them in a box and mail them off to some guy who's going to CNC them for me out of metal.
How many prints did it take to get the dimensions right on that thing?
Let's see. I think we did about 5 or 6 different test prints. Just small, fragile.
That's not too bad, though.
No, it wasn't bad. And you got to realize the guys that modeled these, like here's the originals. So here you can see the original was this giant thing I had to like glue together, and then this was the front mount, which hung over the side, and then that was the first version that we got everything right. And then once we got all the dimensions right, then he got it down to this, which is like a much tighter, closer to the frame. And they even tested it in CAD and everything to make sure it was like an optimized vibration through the frame.
I was gonna say that's gonna be better for the frame because the more overhang you have, the more is gonna be absorbed just in vibration of the movement of the frame.
Exactly. So the first design was crap, and then we refined it into the good design. And I've already checked, and they do fit. So once I'm done with the video and I got everything, they're going in a box. They're going to come back. They're going to be metal. I think they're going to be steel. And hopefully I can get it case hardened. If I can't, then I might case harden it myself as another video when they return. But then we can finally put 5 200-watt freaking butt kicker LFE transducers. These guys. Stick those on the simulator.
Do they really make that much of a difference?
Oh, holy crap, dude. Yeah, they're literally this little thing right here has the capability of producing the same vibration as like a 1,000-watt subwoofer. Like,
Okay.
I mean, it'll shake your fillings out, and I've got 5 of them on there. So yeah, it's probably gonna break shit.
Let me ask you this then. How
Yeah.
does and this isn't an official topic, guys. We actually only have a couple topics because we're going to spend the bulk of our show today doing fan interactions with you guys. Because you complain we don't do enough talking directly to you guys. How does it know the difference between vibration in the road or say vibration in the steering, or is it just going to be turning those low frequencies into vibration that's going to be translated through all sound?
Okay, so this is where it gets really cool. Is this all started with a software that I received? A company sent it to me. It's called SimVibe. And SimVibe is a software that basically generates frequencies from in-game data, generates those frequencies, and then feeds them to the different audio channels, which each audio channel would be one transducer. Mm-hmm. So I mount these on 4 corners of the simulator and then one in the center on the steering column.
So you can have each tire independent from the other, so it'll know right rear rumble strip, left rear rumble strip.
Yep, and not only do I feel the rumble strips, I can also set intensity and different types of vibration for like tire losing grip. Mm-hmm. So like if I have my front left tire starts to lose grip, or my outside right tire starts to lose grip, I can get a little bit of a vibration from that also.
Gotcha.
So and I can drive it. Basically, I hook up a USB sound card that's a 5.1 sound card, and then I push 5 of the channels, each one to one of these LFEs, and then I go into the SimVibe software and I say, okay, front right, front left, rear right, rear is these transducers, and then it goes into iRacing, pulls the telemetry in real time from the game, and then converts that into the shake for each of the transducers. Legless.
Wow. Okay. And
yeah, so it's super near real time.
So then you could leave the force feedback turned on the wheel, but you can turn off all of the rumble of the wheel, so you have realistic steering feel.
Yep.
Because I mean, the most unrealistic thing about force feedback steering wheels is when they try to translate bumps in the road into the steering.
Exactly. It's like let the wheel focus on the actual force in the steering column. Don't have it do the freaking shake, because that screws everything up. Yeah. But the cool thing is it has all kinds of effects that you can actually map. So if I wanted, I could take like my old butt kicker, my little one, and I can hook it to a 6th audio channel and put it on my shifter, and then every time I shift, it'll do a transmission gearbox clunk.
Oh, wow. So you feel that under your ass.
Feel that engagement. And it's funny how realistic it feels, because what got me started on this whole project was I took my original Butt Kicker Gamer 2 and I hooked it to my simulator right in the center of the chassis. I just hooked it on there. And it's a really weak audio transducer, but I could only map it to one effect. So I mapped it to a few effects. I mapped it to speed, so the faster I went, the more it vibrated. And I also mapped it to the shifter, so every time I shift, I'd get this like really harsh thunk. And it worked really well. Like when I was driving, when I'd pull the shifter down, I would actually get that thunk, and I was like, "Oh man, this makes the game a lot more realistic."
So that's what got your gears turning, no pun intended, to like, let's go ahead and just completely transduce my frame.
Yeah, and I gotta get this. Emotiva was the company. They sent me a 500-watt audiophile monoblock amp, and it's still sitting behind me. And I did the video on it. There's already a video on it that's the unboxing and everything on it. But I want to actually show how hooking this giant monoblock amp up to the simulator can like really, really change the experience.
There you go. Well,
and make a better driver than you.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But I actually haven't been up to a whole lot. I mean, you guys know I was in New York last week. The only video I had scheduled to go up was you and I doing that iRacing video together, where you were putting your germs all over my shit while you were sick.
Did I give you guys the encephalitis as soon as I left?
Oh, the herpetogonosyphilitis?
Yeah, you guys.
Yeah, but remember, I got on a plane right after you left, so I could have gotten it anywhere. I did get sick. I got sick when I was in New York.
Did Jen get sick at all?
No, thank God, because she's pregnant. So, but yeah, she didn't get sick. The kid didn't get sick. So I probably caught it on the plane out to New York. Which, by the way, I'd like to point out, 4 flights Southwest, no issues whatsoever. Period.
Okay, pin a rose on your.
Although coming back, there's nothing more disturbing when you're on the plane. You're about halfway across. So you're focusing on your movie, and you hear boing. Do we have any medical personnel on board?
Oh my God.
And then I looked up front, and the flight attendant in the front and was standing up there with another flight attendant looking very concerned. And like 3 people raised their hand. We actually had 3 doctors on the plane. 3 people raised their hand. Somebody up front had a diabetic episode and didn't have their medication with them, so they had like passed out and they were having a diabetic reaction. And because the altitude and the pressurization of the plane, and if you're nervous and you don't have food, I mean, it can mess with a diabetic really bad. So fortunately, they didn't have to make an emergency landing, but they were right on the edge of making that call of an emergency landing somewhere. And I've been in that situation before, and I know that it could be hours before you're in the air again, because you have to refile a flight plan and wait for it to be approved and all that crap.
Right. I mean, that's like a very orchestrated thing.
Yeah.
So,
But fortunately, somebody on the plane had the exact medication that patient needed, and they responded well to taking that and getting some food. So we didn't have to make an emergency landing. But I was like, I'd already tweeted out like, "Hey guys, well, my plane's taking off. Looks like everything went well." And I'm up in the air and I have no internet. And I hear that, I'm like, "Oh God, Jerry will never let me hear the end of this if we have to land somewhere." But it wouldn't have been Southwest's fault. Let's at least say that.
well, you lucked out because I flew like a quarter of the distance, and both ways the planes were like breaking.
That's it. I did a transcontinental flight, right? I went across the United States because on your flight they're like, "Oh, we just need the planes that can get X distance. It's okay if a part falls off along the way."
We just get the parts planes.
Yes, I actually got one of their brand spanking new planes that had like the blue mood lighting and stuff in it. I didn't even know Southwest had tried to copy like Virgin America that way. But yeah, I had nicer seats in it, the better air conditioner and all that stuff. But anyway,
I walked onto my plane and there's like a broomstick duct taped to like the ailerons. I mean,
I tell you what, when I fly up to Seattle, which I hope is going to be before the end of the year, I'll take budget air. How's that? We'll find budget airlines, and we'll find something below Southwest to make it even, right? It's like the old Viking ships where when there's no wind, they had bust out the oars. we have to start rowing the wings.
I'm sure they're like, "This is your captain speaking. Please knock out all your windows and start flapping your arms like a bird. Thank you." Bing.
I look over in the chat for 2 seconds and all I see is Titan Z, Titan Z, Titan Z.
Like, I know, I did too. I've been looking at it the whole time. Everybody's like, "God damn it, stop at the Titan Z." But you got to admit that. Did you see the meme, the Titan Z meme, where it's like Jay cast Titan Z Rage?
Oh, the Pokemon one. That was
the Pokemon one. That was freaking awesome. That was guys, memes like that make Jerry happy.
Especially when you started it as a meme this competition. I wasn't even a part of it, and then there's that.
Yeah. No, that's fun. I'm gonna start doing that because I posted the other picture. You see the one where I was holding the knife? Mm-hmm. Dylan decided he would Photoshop a dildo in there, and awesome. Thanks, Dylan. I saw that. And then Canadian Colonel tried to do the same thing using MS Paint, but that was epic fail.
But you gotta understand, some of the best memes are the worst ones.
They are, and it was pretty damn bad. But no, I like that, so I'm gonna start doing that more often, throwing pictures to you guys to make me look like an idiot. An idiot.
You just succeeded. You win.
Already? Wow. More idiot.
All right, guys. Topic number 1. Okay, so Asetek, if you guys don't know, these all-in-one coolers, Asetek is kind of like the main rebrander that people buy up their products and rebrand them. And Asetek sort of started the whole all-in-one cooling thing about 10 years ago. Now, Asetek apparently filed for a U.S. patent on graphics cooling. Apparently, and I'm really upset about this patent for a couple of reasons. And Jerry, I made a note in the topic when we emailed about this.
You're a water cooling whore, so I fully expect this. This is like pissing on your territory.
Now the thing with this is Asetek was allowed the U.S. patent that claims that they are the patent holders for graphics liquid cooling. Now the new Kraken brackets and was it the X41 and all these other coolers that can be affixed to your graphics card, or even just people who make graphics card GPU cooling blocks, are now going to be in violation of copyright because of Asetek now owning this GPU patent, which they're claiming they came out with 10 years ago. They're claiming 10 years ago they came out with this patent. Now, this is why this bothers me. 10 years ago, we were having to take basic CPU blocks and make our own brackets to make them fit with GPUs, and so we would have basic GPU coolers, and then we had to do little stick-on heat sinks for the RAM and stuff, and make our own solutions because there was no such solution 10 years ago. Now, Asetek is the company that's actually making the cooler for the R9 295X2 with AMD. But because now they're seeing widespread popularity with that card, they all of a sudden, 10 years later, are going to file a patent and get awarded a patent that they claim that they came up with 10 years ago. I'm sorry, if you were a true innovator of a product, you're not going to wait 10 years to patent that crap. So I'm looking at this as
unless you're just an asshole patent troll. Yeah.
I'm looking at this as once again being nothing but a money grab from a company that, they've made all-in-one coolers for quite a while. But what's really pissed me off about this is that they're claiming that they designed the all-in-one GPU cooler, which, let's face it, There's no such thing to this day as an all-in-one GPU cooler that you can go buy in the market. You have to buy a cooler, and whatever brand you buy, you have to hope that there's a bracket to make it work. And NZXT is the one who came up with that technology first. NZXT designed the bracket. They're the ones that made their Kraken work. It was only through the 295X2 that Asetek really had a graphics cooler. And they were paid by AMD to do that. They were paid by AMD to R&D it and put it together.
Did the other company actually hold a patent like before this?
Well, this is another one of those things where it's kind of a shame on everyone else as well, is nobody really held any patents in this market. You can understand, guys, all-in-one water cooling units have really only become big over the last 5 years or so. I mean, all-in-one water cooling units didn't exist when I was using aquarium equipment and making it work for water cooling. That's what we had to do back in the day. We had to go to a fish pet store and go and buy aquarium pumps and aquarium tubing and all of that to make it work.
Were you actually liquid cooling back in those days too?
Oh yeah, and there was only one company that made liquid cooling blocks for computers, and you guys may or may not remember this company. They're out of business now. That was a company called Danger Den. Danger Den was a company that was creating the first all copper blocks, and they had like a plexi top, and they were kind of ugly, but they were the first company to really start making mainstream blocks and stuff, followed by Coolants. Coolants and Danger Den were side by side on that. So that's why I don't understand how Asetek can claim that they're the patent holders and the design implementers of all of this technology. I mean, we've talked about patent trolling before, and that just really, really pisses me off. I'm going to go ahead and link... Well, I'm actually not going to link it because this isn't really an article. This was a news, like the press room article that Asetek put on their own website. Like, hey guys, we got this patent. Yay, we've been doing this for 10 years with GPUs. No, you haven't. Bullshit. Lying through your fucking teeth. And the reason why this bothers me is this is going to stifle the forward progression of GPU all-in-one coolers or all-in-one coolers, period. Because when one company holds a patent that's an umbrella patent like this, anything that cools, that attaches to a GPU, doesn't matter what it is, if it's an all-in-one sealed unit, everyone's gonna owe you royalties, and the little guys, and believe it or not, companies like NZXT and I'm kind of brain farting right now, but there's other smaller companies out there that don't have huge margins of profit. They're going to be hit hard by this, and that's what pisses me off. That's why companies like Danger Den are out of business. There was another previous patent war about 5 years ago that ended up putting Danger Den out of business, and they fucking started this industry. So
yeah, no, it's legal problems seem to be like a leader. It reminds me of back when Microsoft had the problem with, like, you know, we had an MP3 codec in box with Windows, and we paid to license that. We licensed that MP3 codec, but then it turned out that some guy pops out of the woodwork and he's like, well, I actually hold the original patent for MP3. It turned out there was 2 patents.
Yeah.
And his predated the other one, which means it was the only valid one. So of course we had to settle with him.
Well,
it's really strange how that works.
Do you remember the what was the company? CompuServe with GIFs? That was just recent. You know about that, right?
No. What happened there?
Well,
I know what CompuServe is. I just didn't know that they had a GIF problem.
Well, but they patented the GIF, and so
CompuServe patented GIF. I didn't know that.
Guys, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought it was CompuServe. It might be someone else, but we're talking like 90s tech here.
Okay.
And the GIF was like the main image file type. Now that's why we started seeing things like JPEG grow and
you're right. CompuServe patented in 1987. Wow.
Yes, that's what I thought. Well, it wasn't until later on in the internet boom and the .com bubble where then CompuServe comes up and it's like, oh, all you guys who are making money off of GIF files on your branding and stuff, you all owe us royalties because we're the ones that hold the patent of the GIF technology. So that's why everyone's like, okay, fine, fuck you, we'll go to JPEG. And now everyone's going to PNGs and such. But the bottom line is it's patent trolls. And patent trolls, it's a money grab. All they want to do, and I hate to sound like preachy political. I mean, I don't want to go the ways of the tech. I love Logan, but I don't want to get all political on here. But I don't like when patents are something that can actually affect an industry in a negative way. And I don't think that's right. I don't think it's right, period. And another point here, and I kind of just lost my train of thought. That's the other thing too, is I understand the flip side of it. I also am very outspoken against patenting an idea, because all you can say is, hey, it'd be pretty cool if we had this idea, let's go and patent it as an intellectual property. And if somebody comes out with the tech later, even though you have no means of creating the idea, but you patented the idea, you then pop out of the woodworks 20 years later.
I almost want to go do a patent search now just to see, like you said, I would almost bet money that there's patents out there for like matter energy transporters and food replicators and rich people just sitting there watching Star Trek going, yeah, that might happen someday. Let's go ahead and just create this blanket patent that's like transporting something from one point to another digitally using, electrons.
Yeah.
It's like,
so AKA
yeah.
the first fax.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what a fax is. A fax is a particle transporter in a way. It's transporting electrons that manifest on somewhere else and become distributed into the form of. Remember, that's why there was a thing with fax machines too back in the early 2000s. I was actually working at Circuit City. Yeah, guys, believe it or not, I used to work at Circuit City in the PC.
Yeah, I remember back when fax machines were a big deal, man. Like my uncle was a fax and copy machine repair person, and he was making like six figures doing that. I was like, whoa.
But there was like something too where the type of paper or whatever was in violation of some patent, and so that's when everyone started making the huge move towards plain paper faxing.
Wow.
But yeah, that was going on back in the early 2000s. In 1999, I worked at Circuit City for a year. That was really interesting. I was a computer salesman. I don't know if you guys ever knew that.
A lot of people probably don't realize this about me, but I actually I didn't work in the computer industry until I was about 18. I was 18 or 19. Before that, I did drywall, and I worked at Sears.
Okay.
So I literally went into houses and hung sheetrock and taped and mudded it and did all that shit, and that was the most horrible job ever. And then I worked at Sears. What?
You should make a Barnacle tool belt calendar. It's all different pictures of you, different tool belt positions.
So that's how I actually started. My professional working career started as a drywaller, and then after doing drywall for a little while, I went and worked at Sears offloading trailers, and then I got a job at a computer store, and that's when I actually started using my talents. But the funny thing is I was hardcore nerd. I was already writing programs and doing consulting and doing all kinds of stuff on the side long before that, but I didn't think anybody would hire me without a degree. I mean, I grew up in a really, really poor area. We had the shipyard and a lot of naval bases around where I grew up. And so the only real jobs over there weren't tech. They were like welding and, doing stuff like that. So I was like, all right, well, even though I know all this computer stuff, I guess it's just a hobby. I need to go find something, I guess more tangible. and so that's what I did. But luckily, I started working at that little Mothersboard Computers place, which is still open today. Oh my God, can you believe that? First computer store I ever worked at.
We need to go to that place when I go up to Seattle.
We should. When you come up here, we're gonna make a pilgrimage to Mothersboard Computers. We'll go up there, and I know them really well. We could probably do something. We could probably do a video like building a computer there, like in the back room. I mean, that'd be fun.
So I've got this idea for a video that I want to do, and I'm hoping that somebody local is going to come to me, because I haven't done a build for any friends or anybody for a while, because everyone that I know has kind of recently built systems. And I recognize that I have an awful lot of high-end equipment that I review on my channel. And what a lot of people don't realize is that prior to YouTube, I never purchased new product. I always was on forums like overclockers.net and Hardforum and Tom's Hardware, constantly looking for good used product because I couldn't afford new stuff, let alone high-end stuff. So it was always like, I've got $500 and I've got to stretch it. So I kind of wanted to do like a reality vlog type of show where it's like, okay, I've got $500. The whole point is to maximize this build. Vlogging, like trying to search for the best deals online, bartering or bargaining with people, trying to haggle. I think that would kind of like Barter Kings does.
That'd be awesome. That show? That would be what show?
Barter Kings. Have you ever seen that show?
No, I haven't, but I've seen shows like that where you have like a budget and you have to like go and build something based on the budget and try to build the best thing that you possibly can.
Right. And the reality is, if I had a budget of like $500 and wanted to get the best bang for the buck, I wouldn't be shopping for new anything. With the exception of
it would be interesting though, because like if you wait for the right deals, you can actually, like, as long as it wasn't a rush job and it was like, I'm going to do this video series like of acquiring stuff and everything, like almost like a vlog of the whole thing over the next couple of months. I mean, you're going to stumble across like awesome deals.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you're willing to wait, you'll find the right deal. You really will.
I never.
That'd be cool. I'd watch that.
And it would probably take weeks in the making because they'd have to wait for the product to come and wait for it to open up, make sure everything's kosher, testing it, because you're dealing with used stuff. So it'd be dealing with other people and interactions and mailing and all that stuff. So I think that it would actually be, it would be cool. It'd be interesting to watch. You know what I mean? But yeah, I feel like doing something like that too would get me kind of back to my roots of what I'm used to. Because guys, I mean, the channel's great, but I've never been in a position where I could build a system like that guy right there, because I never had the money to do that. In fact, I still don't have the money to do that. I mean, we're talking sponsorship. So, but I think it would be fun, because I think a lot of people ask me how they can afford to do this or that. They only have X amount of money. And I tell people all the time, look, I was never too good to buy anything new. My 680 that I did all the hacking on was new. My AMD rig that you guys know I started the channel with, that was pieced together from used parts purchased off of forums. So, I mean, I'm an advocate for buying lightly used stuff from reputable sellers on forums that have, good history.
Yeah. And see, me, I think probably most of the stuff I've bought, even from early on, has been new. But I've taken some pretty bad hits to buy that stuff. Like, I remember back when I did my first triple monitor setup, I bought 3 ViewSonic, was the G series 17-inch screens. And I think the total bill was a little over $1,000. And like, for me to make $1,000 at that time was like, a month's worth of work. So it was like almost like not paying the rent. I had to like cut back on the food budget, like eat top ramen for a month. But I was like, damn it, I want these screens. So no, that was the thing. But no, it's, if you can get the stuff used, that's the way to go. My biggest fear with electronics and stuff is if they're flaky, you're going to get the electronic and then you're going to use it and it's going to seem fine for a little while and then it's going to start wigging out and then it's like, what do you do?
I registered.
And it's like, the person most likely knew that.
I registered on hard forums 8 years ago. So I'm an 8-year forum member, and I've literally got 100 transactions up there, and not one time have I ever received a dead product from a person. See, the thing is, you have to look up their feedback. Hard forums. Most people up in hard forums use a feedback system called Heatware, which is a third-party feedback system. And if you go up and you make sure they have the good heat and you research them, make sure that they're not new members, you go and look at some of their posts. I mean, if it says that their rank is a newbie, they've been on the site for 90 days and they have no heatware, I'm not going to buy from that guy. But
so basically treat it like eBay.
Exactly. If the guy's been up there, if he's been up there for 5 years, he's got, 5,000 posts, and you look at his heatware, he's got, positive 200, negative, or 0 neutral, 0 negative. Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable buying from the guy. And I'm always going to talk to him first. It's going to be through, PayPal or something like that. So, I mean, I just want to put it out there. That's the way that my systems were always built, because I never had the ability to build a high-end system, especially walking into a retail store and picking up something. I'd go to Fry's and window shop like crazy because I couldn't afford anything there, so I would drool over it and then leave all depressed. Probably.
Well, don't get me wrong. I buy tons of stuff used off of Craigslist and stuff like that. It just usually isn't computer components. I mean, I even bought like stereo receivers and speakers and things like that. It's just computer components for some reason just weird me out. But the fact that you've had such a good experience, I mean, it's just a matter of researching the person you're buying it from. I mean, that's what it comes down to. With Craigslist, you don't really get that. With Craigslist, it's like, I'm going to meet you in a dark alley behind a Target, and I'm going to come home with speakers or missing my liver. I mean, it's like, it's a crapshoot.
I think every single smartphone I've ever owned or cell phone I've ever owned has been sold on Craigslist. I always buy my smartphones new, but I've always sold them on Craigslist.
I used to sell so much stuff on Craigslist, but then
I
started
sold yourself on Craigslist.
I did. Yeah, for a good time. No, but seriously, I got scared off from Craigslist because the last couple things I tried to sell on Craigslist, I showed up and the guy like started trying to dicker with me and like try to bully me, and I had to like just walk away. And I was like, okay, well, this is stressful. Literally, I had a guy who wanted to buy a TV. I sold a TV. And he showed up to pick up the TV, and he was like, "Well, I only brought $50 less than you were asking because it took me $50 in gas to drive all the way up here from so and so." I was like, "Well, I never said I was paying your gas or whatever." And the dude just started like flipping out and throwing his hands around and getting all animated. And I was like, "Dude, just go home, just get out of here." Yeah. And then I was like, all night, I was like, "Okay, is this guy gonna come back and like crowbar my door and shoot me in my sleep?" But So now with the Craigslist thing, I only meet people in neutral locations and usually with a lot of people around. And still, I get the people that show up and they hand me the money and then I start counting it and they get paranoid and it's like light, like $10 or $20, and they're like, "Oh, but gas money," or "Oh, I must not have taken out a much." They use every tactic. At least up here in Washington, it seems like that's how it always goes now. It's like 1 out of 3 Craigslist transactions the people try to lowball me.
Yeah. So I'm seeing people's comments towards my idea. some people are saying, oh, you could crowdfund it. But the problem with crowdfunding is the viewers, they get a cool video out of it, but I don't want to be sitting here with a PC that I built with crowdfunding money that's not going to be doing anyone any good.
I have an idea. I think you should crowdfund it and then give it away.
Yeah, but with the difficulties of giving away on YouTube now and the legal ramifications, I don't even want to do that.
Well, if you read the list, I mean, you can still create a giveaway that's like completely straightforward and
do you know
and
how much
good.
it would do you know how much it would cost me to ship a PC overseas? And if I close it off to only the United States, do you know what kind of backlash that would be?
Well, I've closed off a lot of mine in the United States, and I do get a lot of backlash. So yes,
yeah.
I do know, Jay. I do know.
So rather than leave some people out, I'm kind of the mindset I'd kind of rather leave everybody out. So
okay, so hold on. I got the solution now, Jay. I got it. You ready for this?
You'll pay shipping.
You build the computer. No, screw that. No, here, we can just rig the contest and you just give it to me. No, how about this? You build the computer with the crowdfunded money, then you put it on Craigslist and see how much money you can get for it, and then take the money that you get for it and PayPal it to the winner. You give the money away.
You're just okay. No, let's
go
ahead and move.
Serious. I was being serious, Jay.
Let's go ahead and move on now, so we can start getting to the viewer topics. There's 622 people up in here. I'm seeing people get mad that we're not answering their comments yet. Guys, there's 622 people in here. All of you guys are chatting. It's impossible to answer everybody, but we'll do the best we can.
The B3 Triad says, no offense to you guys, but you're fucking cool, but fuck crowdfunding.
And you know what? A lot of people believe that way. I do. You know what? I am going to be crowdfunding CES coming up. I crowdfunded it last year. It was successful. You guys,
this is the thing is, and I'll just throw my opinion out there. I've never once done crowdfunding for anything, but I completely support it. I've seen crowdfunding actually do some pretty kick-ass stuff.
Yeah, you crowdfunded me.
Yeah, I gave you money. I did for your crowdfunding. But the thing is I do understand that there's people that take advantage of the system. There's plenty of people out there. I've gone to some of the crowdfunding websites and looked through the projects, and it's like, I want to raise $10,000 so that I can make a video of me farting for a half an hour in the shower. And it's like, well, okay, that's a bad example. That would actually be a pretty cool video. But there's these people out there that are just abusing the system, and I get that. But as far as crowdfunding to make a video, how is that any different than like a big movie house, like finding somebody to back their motion picture or find a sponsor or something like that? I mean, it's what makes it possible. I mean, they don't have enough revenue to do it on their own. That's the whole point.
Yeah. Well,
and just because you can afford something doesn't mean that's the other thing is I get a lot of people that are like, oh, you're rich, you can afford it, you can afford it. Well, yeah, but if I spend my own money and I do it, that sets me back on other things. I've already got I've already got plans. I've got a family, I've got medical bills, I've got, yeah. Sure, I could do it, I suppose, but to what end? I mean, so I do. I support the crowdfunding thing. I think it's cool. I've seen it do cool things for you. I've seen it do cool things for others. So simmer down on the crowdfunding, people. If you don't like it, don't pay into it.
That's why the only crowdfund I do, and that's why I'm not going to PAX, because I couldn't afford it, and I wasn't gonna reach out for crowdfunding for PAX trip. But CES. Last year I had to do crowdfunding on that because I had to take a week off of my own time. I lost a week of vacation time at work. I had the week worth of hotel, week's worth of gas, week's worth of food. There was multiple people with me.
Yep.
People don't realize how much work and effort goes into a trip like CES, and I'm sorry. Yeah. Even at nearly 100,000 subscribers and 130 for you, it does not pay the bills.
And let's be honest, you had to spend a lot of your own money. You didn't crowdfund that entire trip.
Oh, the crowdfunding didn't reach its goal, and the goal was not the goal I needed to make the funds. It was just, all I wanted to reach was the cover of the hotel fee and the gas, which it didn't cover.
Yeah, so that's the thing, too, is it's like, Jay did the crowdfunding thing, it helped them, but it still didn't, you still were passionate enough about it to actually put in the rest and make it happen.
Yeah, and the thing is, I actually give up a solid week of my vacation time to go work for the week at CES, and then I come back to work more tired than when I left for my vacation, and I can't take vacation immediately after. I have to put in, some accrued time again and space out my vacation. So yeah. CES is actually a lot of work, especially coming right off the holidays.
Yeah,
I mean, we're talking
you're way more professional than I would be though. Like if I went to CES, seriously, I'd get off the plane staggering because I'd be hammered drunk from the flight down there, and I'd use all my crowdfunding money to buy drinks on the plane. And then I'd get off the plane, and then I'd spend the rest of it on the slot machines while I'm waiting for the limo to pick me up. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, so before we move on to the next topic, let's just go ahead and answer the question. I'm seeing a bunch in there. I'm gonna change the question to: do you remember the first custom computer you ever built and what the specs were? They're asking what was the first. I don't know if I can remember my first, so that's why
I
I changed
have.
it.
Well, here I'll put two. My very first computer that I got that was actually I'm gonna go for PC. I'm gonna leave the Tandies out of it, and I'm gonna leave the Commodore out of it. I'm gonna go straight to PC on this. And my first PC was a Laser Pal 286 12 megahertz with 640K 384 upper. And that was not a computer I built. That was my first PC. The first computer that I actually built that I got my hands dirty on, where I actually bought the components and assembled it, was a 386 SX16 that I had gotten the motherboard. And I even remember the place I bought it from, or bought the components from. It was Cat Computers in Bremerton, Washington. Computer Advanced Technology was a Cat Computers. But I remember going there and buying all the parts, the memory, the motherboard, the CPU, the heat sink at the time. It didn't even have a fan on it. It was just like a heat sink because everything was like,
everything was passive.
Everything was passive back then. So I had that. I remember buying a sound card for it. I had a Sound Blaster, the 8-bit Sound Blaster. It wasn't even the Sound Blaster 16. It was like the first original Creative Labs Sound Blaster 8-bit. And I remember the video card in it was a Trident 8900C ISA with 64 kilobytes. I think it was like 64 kilobytes of video memory. I mean, it was a week, and the card was giant too. It was like fucking half the size of the case. But yeah, no, that was my first real computer I built, was a 386 SX16. Everything before that was a prefab.
The very first computer I ever built was when we moved from AT to XT. And my dad and I built that together. So guys, we're talking like pre-mouse.
Yeah.
I mean, Apple hadn't ripped off IBM's mouse yet.
So your first PC was actually like an 8086 or an 8088?
I don't remember what the exact hardware spec was. I just remember we were moving from AT to XT. My dad and I were building it from scratch. There was a lot of soldering and there was a lot of ribbon cables. But I don't remember the exact specs.
So I remember I think the AT8086 was the non-Mathco processor, and the 8088 had a Mathco. Like another Mathco processor. But other than that, yeah, no, I didn't know a lot about them. I mean, I had a friend that had one growing up, but
the XT was also the first one that didn't have the matrix green font.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it actually had the yellow font.
Dude, do you remember the old hard drive storage formats? Do you remember pre-IDE? Do you remember like RFL and MFM and all those standards?
I remember tape drives a lot. We had a lot of tape drives.
I remember the Easy Trav and tape drives. But back in the day before IDE, like remember like you'd get a CD-ROM back in the day and it wouldn't plug in through IDE, it'd plug into your sound card?
Right.
Well, the connector on your sound card would be like an MFM or an what was it? MFM? I think it was RLL and MFM were the two formats. They can correct me in chat, but basically it was like two separate ribbon cables that went to the device for one of them, and then the other format was a different type of ribbon cable that actually like connected over the edge of a breadboard. It wasn't like your standard pin connection. It was like the prongs went over the side of a little board. And I remember those. It was like really old school. My first hard drive in my 286 was actually an MFM drive. It wasn't IDE.
The sad
part
I
remember
is
that.
If I went through some of my dad's stuff in storage, I could probably pull out some of those PCBs.
Dude, that would be a fun video to do, like just to pull out some really old hardware. Like today I went and took a picture of an Altair. Remember those things?
There's a lot of
Switch-o-matic.
Well, there's a lot of channels out there that do retro tech reviews, and those would be fun.
Dude, you guys want to see retro tech reviews? I think that'd be pretty cool. Like go get like an old go get one of the old 8088 AT systems or whatever and tear it open and rip the board out of it and clean it up and just do a whole video. It's like here's where the 32 kilobytes of RAM is. Here's the 5 megabyte or 10 megabyte hard drive. My 286 had a 40 meg hard drive in it though, dude, and it was a double height 40. I was pretty proud of that back in the day.
I remember when my parents went to buy their first mouse, and my sister and we were home, and I don't know how old I was. I had to have been 5 or 6. And they said, "Hey, we're going to the store. We'll be back. We're going to buy a mouse." My sister and I were like, "What? A mouse?" And the whole time they were gone, we were just like, "Well, what are we going to name it?" I don't know.
Like, we don't have a snake.
I know. We were just like, my sister and I swore we thought we were getting a mouse, like a rodent. And they came home and they were like, "Okay, here's the mouse." And they pulled it out of the package, and we were just like, "What the heck is this?" And that's back when they were like 9-pin serial cables. Remember those? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember my first mouse I had was a 9. Oh, no, that's not true. On the 286, I think it was a bus mouse.
Was
It actually had its own card in an ISA slot with a PS2 style connector on
See,
it.
I don't remember. Like the only thing I remember was a 9-pin, but it doesn't mean that one wasn't its own bus card. Yeah, but that's back when you used to have to install it and you had to give it the right COM port. Remember those?
Yeah. No, I used a bus mouse. Like the cool thing about bus mice is that they had a high refresh rate. The problem with the serial mice is they were very, very low speed. Like the cursor would jump in like increments, and it wasn't smooth. And the bus mouse was like liquid smooth. So I remember I took the bus card out of that 286, put it in my 386, and still continued to use it all the way up to my 46 DX33 that I had. And then eventually I couldn't use it anymore because PCI came along and killed it. But I remember I loved that bus mouse. You had to load crazy drivers and the auto exec bat and shit to get it to work. But man, when it did work, it was beautiful.
The old days of trying to get your printer to work and you couldn't find what COM port it was on. Man, those days. People don't realize how good they have it today.
How hard it was. No, and Jay, here, since we're doing the retro flashback right now, you remember how every time you installed a card in your computer, you literally had to go set the jumpers on it for the IRQ? Yep. You had to set the IRQ, and what was the other one you had to set? It was the IRQ and the there was two different settings. The IRQ was the interrupt, so that when the hardware knew when it could do something, like when the CPU was at a certain state, it would be like, oh, my turn. And if you set it to something that conflicted with another device, you'd get all kinds of problems.
I remember the IRQs, but I don't remember a second standard.
There was there was two different things that you could set on most of the cards. It was the IRQ, and then the other one was I think maybe it was the memory mapping, like where to start the memory mapping at like C400, C500. Some of the graphics cards you had to do that because the BIOSes on the systems were different. And I remember if you got those jumpers wrong and you fired up the system, weird shit would happen. Like your sound card, if you accidentally had the same IRQ on your sound card as the mouse, you'd move the mouse and it'd be like.
I remember that. I remember that.
And I remember you had to troubleshoot all that by hand. And now with the advent of plug and play, the whole plug and play thing is the card negotiates that with the BIOS. The system turns on and the card goes, hey, BIOS, what IRQ do I got available? And it's like, oh, here, have this one. And it configures every time you start up your system. Whereas back in the day, it was a physical hardware trait of the card. You had to set a jumper. And I remember that was a nightmare back in the day. Same thing installing memory. You couldn't just pop the sticks in there. You had to actually like go and change the jumpers and shit on the main board to see how much memory you had.
Do you remember the first hard disks, how long it actually took them to turn on?
I could hear, my mind sounded like a jet turbine. On the 286, you'd flip a switch, and it literally was like a light switch. Yeah, and it'd be like, and then you get that clunk, 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 clunk.
Yeah, because you could hear the reader going
back and forth. Yeah, it was
the needle. All right, so the Baconator MC says, so Jay, your dad was a computer enthusiast? My dad was more of a software developer than he was a computer enthusiast. He only built things because he had to. I mean, back then it wasn't easy to just go into a store and buy a computer. It was super expensive, and he had a friend that actually he'd get all his hardware from, and he and a friend would build the systems. I was the one growing up that was the hardware enthusiast that always ended up being the guy working on all the systems for my parents' company.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. My parents didn't know what a computer was. My grandparents got me the 286, the first one that I had. Mm-hmm. And I want to say that they paid for it for like 6 years. Like it was something ridiculous because, my family was really, really poor. So were my grandparents. But they saw the aptitude that I had for it at school. This is another funny little side story too, is when I learned how to program, I was 7 years old. And I met a friend who was actually the same friend that I Instagrammed today that I was hanging out with, having lunch with, Kevin. He taught me how to write BASIC on an Apple IIe because I had an aptitude for computers. I like pushing buttons, and I was pretty good with them. So he taught me how to program. So when my teachers told my parents with the grandparents said, oh well, hey, Jerry, or Junior, because I am a junior, they said, oh hey, he has an aptitude for computers. Go buy him a computer. And of course, my grandparents didn't know there was differences in computers, so they came home with a PC. Mm-hmm. So I learned how to program on an Apple IIe. And they should have brought home an Apple, but they didn't. They brought home a PC. So I turned the thing on, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? I don't know how to use this.
A lot of people learn to program on an Apple.
Yeah, I remember it ran. I remember the 286 when it showed up. And granted, it was a magnitude strong. I mean, the school was using like old technology, right? I mean, I was on Apple IIes and shit when I could get a 286 later on. My headphones. No worries. But I
was showing this because people were saying that I had the pubic hair in my mic again. I'm like, no, it's not on there today. I don't even have my boom.
No pubes on the mic today, guys.
I was too lazy to set up my boom today because I don't leave it mounted to these desks.
But I remember when I got the 286, I turned it on and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like GeoWorks Ensemble loaded. Mm-hmm. Like we're talking pre-Windows here. I mean, it had DOS. I think it had DOS 2 point something on it and GeoWorks Ensemble. And GeoWorks Ensemble was like Windows for poor people. I mean, it was the weirdest interface ever. And I was lost. I was like, this looks nothing like, because I mean, at that time when they got me that computer, we were already working on the Macintosh computers.
Right.
So we had the Apple IIes and the Macintoshes, but we were generally using the Apple IIes for the programming classes, for the special students, the accelerated learning students, which Kevin was one of them. And so anyways, that's how I got into the whole computer thing in the first place. But the reason why I'm a PC guy and the reason why I'm a Microsoft guy today all hinged on my grandparents going to the store and buying the wrong computer.
All right, I'm gonna answer Brad Barlow real quick because he asked me a water cooling question that I think is important for me to answer.
All right, cool.
He says, Jay, what do you think about the Mayhems Aurora line? Guys, the Mayhems Aurora, it's a show coolant. That coolant is for nothing more than display pieces. It is not meant for long-term use. The vegetable oil in it that gives it that nice pearlescent, really shimmery effect falls out and clogs your systems. They are only meant for shows. They're not meant for full-time use. So, and they even say that right on every single retailer that sells it actually has a disclaimer on it that it's not for full-time use. And depending on the types of blocks that you use, if you use blocks that have really fine channels in them, it will clog. So, if you're looking at the Aurora line for anything other than going to a trade show, forget it. Go with the Pastel or go with the X1 or the XT1 or whatever they call it.
I need to flush my system. I haven't flushed my water cooling loop since I built it originally, and it looks like it's got like chunks of shit floating in it. Like, it's
probably chunks of if you have any nickel plated stuff, it could be chunks of nickel plating.
Oh, really? Will the nickel plating come off?
It depends on some of the early EK stuff. Yeah, it flaked off really bad.
Because I'm using that Fesser 1 coolant. And so far, it seems to be working all right. I mean, I've never had flow problems. I did have the flow regulator on my pump clog up once, and I had to clean it out. It looked like it had some.
Bottom line is
butthole growing in it.
Nothing should ever be clogging. If you're dealing with clogging, you have a problem. Most of the time, what's clogging is plasticizer falling out of your tubing.
Oops.
So. Yeah.
Well, my tubing's like etched. Like, whatever that Fesser 1 coolant is, I don't know if it's alcohol or what the hell it is, but it's eating the inside of the hose. It's etching them. Like, you clean the fluid out of it, and it's like...
It's not. What's happening is the plasticizer in the tubing is actually leaching. It's coming out.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
That really is that glossy look on the tubing. That's a plasticizer. It's on the inside and the outside because it becomes coated.
Those assholes, they fooled me.
The only tubing out there...
Plastic tubing.
The only tubing out there that actually advertises itself as being plasticizer free, which is actually not entirely true, is the PrimoChill Advanced LRT tubing, but it still does it over time. Yeah.
So
that's one of the benefits.
Like
that's one of the benefits.
Solid tubing next time.
That's one of the benefits for it. But then again, on like my system, I'm going to be going more than likely behind the motherboard tray, one line of soft tubing, which could leach plasticizer. But then again. I've never personally had a problem with plasticizer. It has a lot to do with the tubings that you use. You want to know the tubing that actually worked the best for me in all the years I've done water cooling?
Garden hose?
You actually could do that. But go down to like Ace Hardware and go and get their clear vinyl tubing. Not the rubber tubing, not the.
You know, it's funny. I have an Ace Hardware. Literally, it's the closest thing to my house is an Ace Hardware.
Yeah, they actually have a 1/2 inch inner diameter, 3/4 inch outer diameter, which is the same size tubing that's in my build. That you were like, holy shit, your tube is huge, and I was like, thanks, but let's talk about the computer. They sell that in vinyl, and I had a vinyl system put together for 5 years that never once got bled. And when I took the system apart, I really wish I was doing YouTube when I did this. You guys would have loved this as a video. There was some discussion. The same things people today still try and say, oh, blah, 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 this happens, and people talk out their ass because they don't know what they're talking about. I wrote an article for Hard OCP that went up on the cooling forums where I literally sacrificed an entire system that had been together for 5 years, never drained, and I cut the end tanks off of the radiator. I cut the cooling blocks on the GPU and the CPU right in half to look at the insides, and I opened up and broke apart the pump to show that there was absolutely no issues with using the same coolant for 5 years without flushing. If you're using solid copper materials. And it was right. I also tested the conductivity of the fluid over time as well, which measured, I think it was like negative 301. I don't remember what the exact measurement was, but an electrical engineer stepped in to say, well, that's not conductive at all. So it actually did not turn conductive over time, which most coolants do, depending on the types of metals that are in your system. But that article actually did really, really well, and that was about 5 months before I started YouTube, which sucks, because if I knew I was going to do YouTube...
just do a video on the old article. Just pull up the old article and be like, hey, we're going to go through this step by step.
Yeah, and I mean, it has high-def photos and stuff. In fact, I should just dig up the article and tweet it anyway. But what is that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, somebody did a calendar, a Barnacules hardware calendar.
So, yeah. All right, Jerry, let's go ahead and talk about your topic. Let's go and talk about your topic, and then let's go ahead and do the interactions with the fans and their topics. We'll talk about what they want.
All right. We'll blaze through this one. This one probably a lot of people already know about it because they've been seeing it in the media.
And your article is up on the stream now.
Yep. Oh, awesome. Okay. So Facebook conducted a study. It was like a little experiment that they conducted back in 2012. So you're thinking, wow, this is really old news, but nobody knew that they were doing it. This was, I don't want to say it was covert. It just wasn't really publicly known. And so what they were doing is they were intentionally picking people on Facebook and showing them negative stuff, like making their feed mostly negative with news stories that are negative. I don't know about advertisements that are negative, but anyways, the news stories that are negative, that was the primary thing. They were controlling what you saw on your feed to kind of put you in a negative mood. They were trying to see if they could alter your mood. And so they took and broke a subset of, I think it was about 619,000 people into two chunks. And one chunk they gave the negative stuff in the feed, the other one they gave the positive stuff in the feed, and then they computed the results over a very long period of time. And it turns out that they were able to, they noticed that there was a slight increase in negative postings from people that had a negative feed, and same happened for the positive people. And so anyways, it finally got published in a journal, and that's when it became like mainstream, and everybody was like, holy shit, shame on you, Facebook, why would you do this? And a couple of people came out and said that this was like a really dangerous thing that Facebook did, because there's a lot of depressed people out there, for instance, that, if you fill their feed full of a bunch of hateful stuff and try to, take anything away that's nice, you're going to screw with them. You're going to drive them into deeper depression. So one of the people was a privacy activist from Twitter, Lauren Weinstein, said verbatim, I wonder if Facebook killed anyone with their emotion manipulation stunt. At their scale and with depressed people out there, it's entirely possible. And I don't know if I necessarily agree overall with that statement, because I believe that people are swayed by all kinds of things. I mean, the fact that if you're depressed and you're on the internet, that's a dangerous thing in the first place, because like Jay and I can tell you, especially as YouTube producers, I mean, you get a lot of hate. You do.
There's hate in this chat right now.
There's hate in the chat right now. I mean, I've already had to ban 3 people in the chat.
I've been going through banning people too.
Yeah, I can't even see their messages anymore because I mean they're completely blocked from viewing my channel. They have to go create new accounts if they want to get banned again. But it's you have to have kind of that tough temperament. So I'm not going to blame Facebook if they put some, and it's not like they were manufacturing, that's the other thing, they weren't manufacturing the news. This was legitimate news. They were just filtering it so that on one side, the group was getting the more negative side of the news, and on the other side, they were getting the more positive side of the news. But they said the results did come back, and they did find that the people that got the negative stuff in their feed tended to post more negative things, because they were going through and seeing what these people were posting versus what they were posting previously. And they found that they could actually kind of control the mood and the emotion of the viewer. And I was like, well, that's kind of interesting, because if that's true, and they're saying that it is, that means that they could use this for other things. Like if they can control social networking online, and they can basically like feed things in, I mean, they're subliminally swaying your decision. I mean, like, for instance, I was thinking political things, right? Say there's a campaign and there's 2 candidates, and a large corporation wants to pay Facebook, $1 billion to make sure that all the trash talking side makes it to this subset of users that normally wouldn't vote for that candidate, based on his alignment, whether he's Democratic, Republican, and so forth. But it's like, could you actually manipulate people's moods enough to get them to change legitimate decisions that they were going to make in their life?
Absolutely.
And I think Facebook proved that it's possible. It looks plausible that you can do that. Well,
it's the same thing as like sometimes you hear these stories about someone who was like quite literally on their way to go kill themselves, jump off a bridge or something like that, but some random person did some random kind of act of kindness, like maybe opened a door for them or smiled or said hi or something like that. And that one little interaction change their mind. I mean, we've heard that sort of thing happen before.
It's true. And that's the thing, is if you're close enough to the edge, you're absolutely right. Very minor things become very major.
Right. And it could just be someone that's having a really shitty month or a year, and they just see that one negative article posted about, you know, some kids or family dying in a fire or something, and it's just like, oh yeah, fuck it, I'm done, hands up, they're out. You know what I mean? They go and they're just like, I can't handle this world anymore. So I mean, I wouldn't say it's Facebook's fault, but them doing social experiments like that, you don't know what the ramifications are. It just seems a little bit like
they're kind of playing God.
Well, I don't agree with them playing.
Sorry, you broke up on Skype there for a second. There we go. We're good.
I don't agree that they're playing God, but I do agree that they are playing with. They're playing with us to see like we're an anthill, and they're just the guy watching with a magnifying glass. You know what I mean? I don't really participate in Facebook anymore when it comes to my personal page, but the digital aspect of manipulation is huge in this age that we live in. There was an article I was thinking about doing a topic on today, and maybe we'll save it for another day, but the premise of it was hackers now exploiting bitcoins out of mom and pop type businesses. And this is a legitimate thing where hackers are calling up like Joe's Pizzeria and saying, pay us 1 bitcoin. I mean, what's that, like $600 or something like that? Pay us 1 bitcoin or we will have our bot network put thousands of negative reviews about your business up on Yelp. It's extortion and a digital aspect. And there was a lot of comments on this article saying, oh, big deal, they're going to put you down on Yelp, boo-hoo. You know, I don't know about you, but when I'm curious about a new restaurant or going and checking something out, I do look up the reviews. I try and form my own opinion based on what people are saying. But if I saw that they had like 0% or 10% approved review because enough people were able to go in and give negative reviews to influence this company in a negative way, legitimate or not, I would think twice about going there. And that could put a business like that out of business.
No, it's true. I just got a tweet from Andrew Adkins. He said the Facebook emotion study was led by the former head of a project called Minerva, a study to predict civil unrest. So
a government thing.
It's a government thing, but it's just kind of weird to look at it because you could see so many applications for something like this because you could intentionally seed certain things into people's news feed to kind of subliminally push their mood in a positive or a negative state. And then you could even target ads, and you could target. And the funny thing is, this kind of already happening today, right? I mean, when you get targeted ads, it's based on stuff that they think you have an interest in. But what if your emotional state was another one of those factors?
Pretty much every ad we see on the computer now is cookie based.
That's true.
I mean, Amazon.
As a priority, and then they fall back to other things. But it's weird because it's like that'd be weird. Like, okay, so you think the world's gonna end, so you go do a search for a whole bunch of things that are like the world's ending. Then next thing you know, Facebook newsfeed is just showing you a bunch of propaganda showing, this is why the world's going to end, and showing you every news article it can find on to confirm your fears. And then boom, here comes a bunch of ads for, buy a bunker, buy MREs and rations, become a prepper, stuff like that.
A South African gamer says it's like Jay's review. If Jay says something is shit, no one's going to buy it. Well, I don't agree with that either. But I do recognize that there is a certain amount of responsibility. I won't say power, but responsibility that people like Jerry and I have, where we could negatively reflect something in a way if we put up a negative review on something. So I treat it very objective, and I do my best not to see. It's a fine balance of doing YouTube reviews on my personal opinion versus an objective fact about a product. They're two very different things that have to both be a part of my channel. People watch what I have to say because they're curious about how I feel about it, but in the end, I want someone to formulate their own opinion about what I'm showing based on what I'm showing them. So, I don't think I could put up a video and say, don't buy this, as a piece of crap, because there has been a couple of times I said I didn't like something, and enough people came out with pitchforks to say, we love it, and here's why, and you suck. So... anyway.
I make that mistake too. I honestly do. Every once in a while I'll release that video where it's like, maybe I was a little too harsh on that product.
The Intel video.
At the same time, I like to advertise that it's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I want people to see this isn't fact. This is my opinion.
Right. The Intel. That's why it's called Jayztwocents. This is my opinion, and I'll do the best I can to show the product in a way that you can make up your own mind about it, which is ultimately what I want. It's anyway. I think one of the things I want to talk about for the last half hour is there's a lot of people in here asking questions, so let's go ahead and just kind of pick some questions from the crowd here, if we can get enough actual real questions. I mean, I've seen the question asked about 1,500 times: how do you mount a reservoir without drilling. I mean, I think two-sided tape kind of comes to mind pretty quickly. I don't
hot glue. Hot glue.
Well, yeah, you do have the hot glue video.
I've been loving the hot glue. Hot glue. I figured out hot glue can be used for everything except for food. I wouldn't use it for food, but everything else, hot glue. Absolutely. So let's see. Okay, so questions. I mean, the chat feed is just flying by here. Let me see if I can freeze it.
Jeff Jones says, did you hear that Linus sold his Lambo? Yeah, he's about to hit that $1 million Learjet. Or that million sub Learjet.
Poor people, man. Everybody wants that Bell Lear. Woo! Oh, man, so our Jacko, or Jocko, maybe, I don't know, says, I trust Jay's opinion of a product. That kind of confirms.
I see people saying
you
that.
have great power, Jay.
Someone did just say they would be hesitant to buy something water cooling based if I said I didn't like it. And I do understand that. The Intel
I'm
video.
One of those people. I wouldn't buy it if you said it was crap.
The Intel video is a perfect example. It just went up, yesterday? My 4790K review. Guys, the video that you saw, and the reason why it jump cut to a new day and I was wearing a different shirt and everything, was I made 3 versions of that video. I made a video where I was just like, I'm just going to throw it all out there and I'm going to say what's on my mind. It turned out to be a lot of ranting, raging, and really a lot of douchebaggery because I watched it and I was like, God, even I don't like this video. I made another one where I just tried to be like, okay, well, let's go ahead and try and flip it and just talk about what's good about this video. And then I watched it and I went, well, this doesn't feel organic. Then I made the third video where I was like, okay, I had to pull myself back and realize what it was I was reviewing because I was potentially going to call a chip a piece of crap that didn't overclock well that was still a Haswell. That was like, it's like buying a blue Volkswagen Beetle and going, I don't like this, I'm going to buy the red one, and expecting the car to be different, right? I mean, it's just, so it's a perfect example of the amount of responsibility you have to have when you do these reviews where there's a certain amount of emotion that you need to put into it, but a certain amount of emotion you need to keep out of it as well. Otherwise, you could really come off and say things that are entirely out of context.
Yeah, well, you notice exactly I never did a Pebble watch review.
I still think you should.
And I never did that.
Especially since you bought it.
That was just it. I did. I sat down and I shot the whole thing. And at the end, I was watching the footage and I was like, this is the angriest video I've ever created.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like toxic. Like people would have been like, what the fuck, Jerry? Because I was like, I was genuinely angry because I really, really didn't agree with their business practices and what they were doing. Mm-hmm. But again, it's one of those things where it's like, as time went by, I was like, okay, I still don't like them. I still don't like them as a company, but I can understand that they were a Kickstarter. They came out swinging. They shipped tons of products. Products were defective. They're trying to fix them. They're trying to make it right. It's just a very slow process. Yeah. And, for me, that still pisses me off to no ends, but I'm not going to release a video that's like, screw you, Pebble. You guys are garbage. Nobody go buy a Pebble. I mean, because some people like it. I get a lot of people, including Linus. Linus loves his Pebble.
All right, so
I just had a bad experience.
Joey CHGO, Chico, or whatever, he asks how much work goes into us or into our review videos.
A lot more into mine than Jay's because he's faster than I am. I'm a slowpoke.
No, I would say that I would say
probably 5 to 6 hours to shoot and edit a video.
Okay, but I think the question more entails in how invested are we into researching our reviews. I use every product I do a review on.
I don't research anything. That's one of the things I love about doing my reviews is from the time I take it out of the box at the beginning of the review to the time the video ends. Now, granted, that could be days. I mean, it could be over a period of days.
Okay, so you're answering the question now. Yeah, from the moment you say I'm going to review these Minitio Pro 40 headphones to the time the video's done.
Yes.
How much effort do you put into this review? Do you take it out and talk about what's in the box? Do you actually use it for a week? That's kind of the question.
Oh yeah,
not do you research the product independently outside of the review?
It's pretty rare for me to use something for a week before I do a video on it. Usually I do it the same day, but no, I do use the hell out of it, and I try to use it in like every possible way that I'd want to use it before I finish up the video. But there's always going to be things that are missed. Yeah. But I like my videos to be less technical and more organic. Like I don't script anything. I don't think of anything ahead of time. When you guys see my funny intros, that's just me goofing off in front of the camera and doing some editing. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing for the review. When I take the thing out of the box and I go through, there's a lot of footage that just stays on the cutting room floor because it's repetitive, it's redundant, it doesn't fit right. I mean, editing plays a huge part in it, but that's where it's like when I came down and I saw you, Jay, one thing I noticed that you did is it's like you definitely kind of have like this, like a little formula going on in your head. You're like, okay, I know I got to get the B-roll. I know I got to shoot the primary. I know my lighting. I know my camera equipment. I know my editing. You've definitely got it together, but you don't have to script anything either, which I thought was pretty cool. You just fly off the cuff, boom, edit it, and it's on its way. Mine, I tend to shoot stuff, forget things, go back. Oh, I didn't do B-roll on that. Shoot some more, copy it over the computer. I mean, it's like sometimes I'll go back and forth between the computer and the camera 6 times.
That has a negative effect to it too. I just want to point that out, as I've seen people be like, ask me like, Jay, how many videos have you made that are not scripted? And I'm like, every single one of them. But that Linus uses a teleprompter and a script. But that's because Linus gives a lot of technical information, and he wants to do it in the least amount of words possible, in the least amount of time possible, maximizing your information per minute. That's kind of like Linus's formula there. So he has to script out the things to say, that way he can keep on track. You and I, you've seen it. We'll have a 15-minute video, but there was 30 minutes of recording where we were just like wandering off about squirrels.
Yeah, dude,
we just got way off topic.
Tangent fest. Like,
but
yeah,
the downside of not telepromptering is the fact that there's a lot of misspeaks in our videos too, which we kind of get hammered for.
Yep, and sometimes I intentionally leave them in too. I find a lot of them in editing, and then I don't go back and reshoot. Sometimes I'll put an annotation. Sometimes I just won't put anything.
Like on my nerd block review I just did, I said, and this is one of those things where even my mom, who saw the video, was like, "Oh, there's the importance of putting a comma in your speech sometimes, son," because I said they ship to all over the world and to many countries and Europe, in many countries and like Europe and things like that. People thought I was saying a country like Europe.
Skype just froze again.
Okay, people thought that I was saying that they ship to countries like Europe. What I was saying was they ship all over the world and to Europe. So people were like, Jay's an idiot. He thinks that Europe's a country. Guys, my family's from fucking Germany and France. I know the difference between Europe and a country, okay? So it's just one of those things, though, because of that misspeak that I didn't think about and just kind of off the cuff was talking. I'm getting a lot of like troll comments of like, Jay doesn't know that Europe isn't a country. It's like, okay, fine. You guys can have fun with that. I'm not even going to fix it, but...
Well, you already know that one of my claims to fame is actually making a mistake and mispronouncing things.
Diablo.
So it's become a hallmark of my channel now. That's why when I edit stuff, unless it's so bad that you can't figure it out from the context, I won't go back and reshoot it. I just play it where it lays. And people like that. Another thing I like is the banter that you see in the comments. I mean, not the negativity. You get the people that are just straight up assholes, but it's fun to see people, find the little problems in the video and call them out, because it allows them to engage. I mean, they're actually engaging down in the comments, and they're doing something. And some of them are pretty funny. I mean, I've had some people catch me say things before, and then they give me the time mark and they take it back to me, and then I realize that I paused a little too long before saying something, and then it turned into a complete innuendo.
Yeah.
So now it's like, now I'll even catch myself when I'm doing that on future videos, and I'll just throw stuff in there like, that's what she said, and things like that are kind of funny.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Skype is being kind of silly right now.
Uh-oh. Skype is blowing up. So I've got like massive static through my headset.
Yeah, I hear that through your end. I'm not dropping any frames though. Okay, so I'll just kind of keep going for a second here. Michael Ryder says, "You said Gigabyte BIOS for Devil's Canyon is terrible, and I didn't listen. I regret that now." And Jerry just disappeared for a second there. Yeah, Michael, I don't know if you're talking about Z97 or what, but it looks like Jerry's coming back now.
All I static from my headset.
This is kind of cool. Or we'll let Jerry get his shit figured out real quick. I'm not dropping any frames, so it's not on my end. Okay, so the Z87 BIOS, the F9 BIOS specifically for Gigabyte and Devil's Canyon CPUs, it didn't know what the heck to do with voltage. It threw mine up to over 1.5 gigs, which is absolutely insane. Or 1.5 gigs, 1.5 volts, which is absolutely insane. So, yeah, I guess. Lardo 1800 says GTX 880 picture. I saw that leaked picture. It looks like a very early engineering sample. There's not enough information on that picture to determine anything from it. So, anyway. Let's see here. I saw Miserable Gaming says Linan needs to script all dem sponsor spotlights. That's why he needs a teleprompter. I don't blame him. Yeah, there's a lot of important things he has to make sure he says. So, Romania for the win. Let's see.
Hello.
You sound like popcorn popping. What happened to that big old tasty internet you've got now? The other party can't see you. What is going on here? Hello? Alright. We're just going to kind of keep going for a minute here. Skype just played Outlast and shat itself. Yeah, Skype is being a little silly right now. Anthony Stieber says, do you think that there is an actual difference between 60 millimeter and the Monster 80 millimeter thick alpha coil radiators? I think anything over 45 millimeters is overkill, requires push-pull configurations, and is a bit gimmicky, in my opinion. That's why I don't use anything thicker than XT45 alpha coil rads. Larry Jones, Jerry, I did not know your videos existed until I saw you on Chris Perillo's vlogs. If we could get the chat to actually update here. Jay, with the upcoming Jason Tufts says, Jay, with the upcoming GTX 800 series that is coming by next year, how much do you think the 800 series will upgrade, and should people wait for them? If the roadmap projections hold out, then we're probably looking at an NVIDIA upgrade sometime around this holiday season. I would say it's going to probably hold to around the 25 to 30% faster overall. But the thing is, this is actually the very first upgrade year.
A hero.
Hey, okay, so this is the very first upgrade year where NVIDIA introduced a high-end, something that ends in 80 with a TI. Normally the TI was reserved for like the 60 and the 50 series. So this is the first time that they've done that. I don't know what the 800 series will aim at replacing when it launches. So I was just answering what my predictions were on the 800 series.
Oh, cool. Yeah, no, something was up with the Skype server. I was getting like massive static through the earphones. Like
I could hear it.
Yeah,
I could hear it through your mic. Not on my end, but I heard it through your mic.
I went and checked my network. The stream's coming through fine. Everything's fine. I checked the switch. No incoming packets. So a lot of people were saying that I get DDoS. Just to let you guys know, I can't get DDoSed anymore. I'm DDoS proof. Mushroom Networks actually put in a switch. I've got 3 connections actually going through a bonded connection to a large data center that Amazon runs. So if you DDoS me, that all gets filtered out on the Amazon side before it even comes to my house. So woohoo! DDoS protection! But unfortunately, that didn't protect me from bad Skype server.
I've seen a shit ton of Jay, how's your build coming? I haven't touched it since I did the vlog. I've only spent an hour on it so far. But I'm hoping to change that this weekend. Part of the reason for that is I do have more Lutro Customs cables coming. Just some fan extensions and sleeved round SATA cables. So that'll be fun.
No, that'll be awesome.
Is it better to... Agent A181, is it better to get a kit for cooling or buy separate parts from different... You need to go and watch my Alpha Cool kit video. If you get a kit from a company like EK or XSPC or Alpha Cool, they are individual cooling parts thrown into a box. So the work is already done for you. I recommend a kit if you're not doing anything super custom.
It's funny, everybody's asking if I'm being hacked. No. This is I am not being hacked.
It would also make no sense for them to go after you considering you're not the streamer.
Yeah, no, and that's the funny thing is it's like right now, I mean, that's the whole reason why I went with the Mushroom Networks link aggregation is it's like I've got a DSL2 cable modems on 2 different subnets and 2 different enterprises bonded through to another enterprise. Yeah. So the only thing that gets through is what I configure on the other end of the server to send to me. So
Belhad Walid is asking, will I ever...
What?
He's asking if I will ever teach my daughter how to build a PC in the future. Absolutely, but you don't have to spam your question a million times though, please.
Let's see here. Do either of you have a shop?
No.
I mean, no, not really.
It's very, 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 very rare for me to build from somebody who contacts me on YouTube. In fact, I've only built for 3 people in the last 2 years through YouTube, and even then we're extremely... I don't know what the right word to use here is. They were extremely special circumstances or special cases where I decided to do those builds. And mostly because I was given full control over the build and it was something that allowed me to do something I wanted to be doing for the channel. I don't have time to do mainstream builds as a business. And it really sucks to say I could open up a PC building business today if I wanted and probably be fully sustained self-employed, but I'm not ready to cross that bridge.
Let's see here. A lot of people keep posting Windows 9. Guys, obviously I can't talk about Windows 9 for obvious reasons.
What? Why? Why?
It's coming eventually.
It makes absolutely no sense that you cannot talk about upcoming Microsoft intellectual properties with NDAs.
Yeah, apparently.
I don't get it. Fuck Microsoft. YouTube is more important, Jay. Spill it.
Apparently. No. So yeah, no. Windows 9, it'll get here when it gets here.
All right, Jerry, you pick a couple questions. Go.
All right, let's see what we got here. So let's see, both of you have 3 screens. I know Jay has video for it, but how big of a deal is it for simulation players? Huge.
Huge.
huge. Having that field of view when you're racing and being able to actually look into the apex, like that's a big deal. Trust me, mega big deal.
And you actually
racing with one screen before, and it was like epic fail.
But you were pleasantly surprised at how much easier it was to drive on my smaller panels than your massive panels.
Yeah, actually, that's true. Jay's smaller panels. iRacing seems like the field, like at least the default field of view and everything suits the smaller panels better. Like I felt like the judgment of speed and the placement in the car seemed more natural on your setup than it did on mine.
Well, remember, I went through iRacing's, measure the panels, measure the angle, measure the distance. I did all that. So it's set up to whatever it felt it should be based on my panel width.
I didn't do a good job. I need to do a better job.
Would you measure in penis lengths or something? I don't know.
Yeah, that would really. I'm sitting 400 feet from the cockpit then.
8,800 Jerry penises away.
Exactly. Let's see here. Tell us about Project Chicago. That's hilarious.
I don't even know what that is.
A hilarious joke. Chicago was the code name for Windows 95.
Oh, really? Retro reviews, Jerry.
Yeah,
retro reviews.
I actually worked on the not on Windows 95, but the Windows XP project was the first project I really engaged on hard when I started my Microsoft career. It was let's see. No, actually, it was Windows 2000 Server and then Windows XP right after that. Let's see here. Other questions. Who the hell would DDoS a tech show?
I think a lot of people would. I think a lot of people would look at it as an achievement to DDoS a tech show.
No, and they do. I mean, that's one of the ways that you know that you've actually become big on something on YouTube is when you're actually a worthwhile target for somebody to go after, and that's what they do.
We're not worthwhile.
Yeah, no, the sad thing about it though is denial of service attack is like the one attack that requires zero effort. It's you
there's
click
too many websites out there pre-set up for you to do it. You pay them $15 to DDoS someone for 5 hours or something.
You have to do that. I mean, there's just apps that you can just run and just saturate your whole network connection and everything if you just want to be a dick. But it really just doesn't make any sense. Let's see here.
Zach plays those games, has asked us about 8,800 times. Yes, you can pull your hard drive out and put it in another computer. How hard is it? It's as hard as unscrewing your drive cage or your drive sled.
But I think he's also expecting to just like turn it on and have Windows boot back up. And if that's the case, that depending on the motherboard and all that stuff.
The bottom line with that though is depending on how old his hardware is, all these motherboards, like my test bench has seen. The SSD in my test bench has seen at least 6 different motherboards, and not one time has Windows had to be reinstalled because they all use the same Marvel controller. Those motherboards.
Ass. Okay, so as long as your shit's reasonably compatible or modern, you shouldn't have a problem.
Yeah. So real quick, there's a video. My video coming out tomorrow. It's a video about SSDs and the best bang for buck upgrade of your system and how an SSD plays a part. And I was freaking out because I was like, why the hell is this SSD performing like crap? I had it plugged into the Marvel controller. And it's funny how many people probably don't realize the difference between plugging in an SSD directly to your chipset controller versus like a third-party Marvel or SandForce controller. So I show some comparisons in this video regarding hard drive speed. And a lot of people may think their drives suck, but they just haven't plugged into the wrong ports. So I think I need to do a more in-depth video on SATA controllers and how they actually interact with your drive.
I'd actually like to see that because I RAID my SSDs. Well, I used to. I don't anymore. Mm-hmm. I would run them through the RAID controller, and I definitely would. I would see
like the ACHI or whatever it is.
Yeah, I'd use the HCI, do RAID 0 across both of them, and I'd get a huge performance boost, but it wasn't as much as I was expecting.
Yeah.
So again, a lot of people don't realize that high-end RAID controllers are very expensive. They are costly pieces of hardware. The one that's on your motherboard is like a barely get her done RAID controller.
And even Linus himself, if you guys trust Linus over me, would tell you never ever ever count on your primary array on a motherboard controller.
Yeah, and honestly, I do just because I'm cheap and I don't want to buy a proper RAID controller. But at work, I actually work with proper RAID controllers that have their own independent memory, their own independent high-speed processor. I mean, these are some beefy cards, but they also cost like a couple $1,000. But they can run all the drives attached to them full tilt, like without breaking a sweat. And I'd like to get one eventually.
The Computent is asking how we built our channels and how we do our workflows. They have a channel and they need some tips. I actually told you I wanted to talk a little bit about growing a YouTube channel with people, kind of give some advice out there.
Yeah, we're sort of an authority now, I guess, a little bit.
Well, even if we don't have the super high numbers that a lot of the other channels do, you have to admit we are up and coming at a rate that I think even we are surprised by.
I know, I am.
I mean, 15,000 subscribers a month right now. I mean, I think, quite honestly, it comes down, for me anyway, and Jerry may be entirely different. Jerry learned when he was here, we have two completely different processes and approaches to our channels.
Yes.
For me,
not a bad thing, though.
No, if we were exactly the same, then it would be boring.
Yeah.
The word that comes to mind for me is consistency. It has to be consistent. I mean, guys...
And I'm the absolute opposite.
Right. But we also have two completely different audiences, too. That's why your audience and my audience...
that out on too. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially when we were making videos together here, it's amazing how many people... Like, I got more dislikes on those videos than I ever did, you know? Because...
You remember how much hate I was getting from your... Like some of your hardcore subs were like coming after me and they're like, fuck you, leave Jay alone. You're ruining him. You're ruining his channel. They were like blaming me for you making like certain changes in your content. And I was like, whoa, easy guys, easy.
But, you know, I still think that's the minority.
Yeah, it is. Oh, completely the minority. I think the majority of our audience is actually like each other and get along for the most part.
Okay, guys, when it comes to building a YouTube channel, I think Jerry would agree. Jerry and I did not upload our first video and get 1,000 views, 2,000 views, 5,000 views. I can tell you right now how excited I was the first video I uploaded that got 100 views in the first 24 hours. I mean, that was like a major milestone. I was all excited, like, yeah, this video hit 100 views, woo! And I was all excited about that. But it took me like probably a month to get to that point. Now, it's like anything else, and I love Boogie2988's description of how to grow a YouTube channel, where you have to look at every video that you make as being this tiny little thimble sitting out in the rain collecting water. And how the more videos you make, the more thimbles you put out there, and after a while, you have a lot of thimbles collecting water.
A lot of thimbles collecting water. Yep.
It snowballs, and you never know how it's going to go or where it's going to go. But the thing I do when I'm making my video and I'm editing it, and I tell Jerry and I talk on Skype quite a bit, especially when we're editing. Like, we're kind of like, oh, hey, this video is pretty awesome. Hey, I'm laughing my ass off at my own video, and it's always like, well, then you know it's going to be a good video. Because if I'm watching a video and I'm not enjoying watching the playback, I don't expect anyone to enjoy watching it, period. So I try and make videos that I know that I would watch. So if you are just consistent in your uploading, and by consistent, I don't mean upload daily. Hell no. When I first started uploading, the advice I got was don't upload more than 2 videos a week. And then
I got similar advice, yeah.
Yeah, don't upload more than 2 videos a week. And then beyond that, make the video enjoyable and just stick with it. But you have to be able to also adapt to your audience, because there's going to be a lot of people who are going to, they're going to, over time, probably tell you your content's changing, we don't like what you're doing anymore. You just need to stick with the content that you like creating and just keep going with it. But you can't do it with the mindset of making money, being sponsored, getting free parts, or getting free games, or whatever it may be. You need to do it because you like doing it. If you do, that other stuff will eventually come.
Yeah, all of those objectives in the beginning. So sorry, Jay, the Skype's messing up a little bit again. But, you know, all of those objectives, the thing is, they'll block you from getting to your true objective. Yeah. If you start out and you're like, I want the money, I want the thing, you're contacting people, you're trying to get products to review and do all that stuff, you're basically going to kill any chances of you growing your channel to a size where you're even remotely interesting to any of those people.
Yeah.
So that's why you need to just put all that on the back burner and say, I enjoy doing this. If you don't enjoy doing it, don't do it. It's just like anything else. Don't make a career out of shoveling shit if you don't like shoveling shit, because YouTube can be compared to shoveling shit. I mean, it literally can on some days.
This motion I'm making right now, I mean, guys, I read messages. I read a lot of my inbox messages. I don't get the time to respond as quickly as I'd like to, but I try to respond to everybody over time. I do get multiple times a week somebody asking, Jay, I want to make a channel, I want to get sponsored, I want to get free parts for review, how do I do it? And this is what I look like when I'm reading that message, quite honestly, because that already is the wrong mindset. That's the wrong mindset. You got to start by doing, if you want to be a review channel, you need to start by reviewing things you already have. Nothing says the review you're doing has to be a new product or a new unboxing. And it doesn't matter that there may already be 100 videos already up there, because somebody is always looking for objective opinions. I make the same videos Linus makes, or Tech of Tomorrow makes, or Austin Evan makes.
Well,
because
the difference is the personality and perspective.
Exactly. That's why they come back. I can't tell you how many comments I've seen on my videos like, I don't even care about the product. I'm just here because I like Jay's opinion. And that makes me feel good because it's like, okay, cool. You know, that means you have a core audience, and that's what you work towards.
Or this video is easy to fap to. I like that comment too.
Oh yeah, I get that a lot, but I think that's because I have this luscious gray stripe that goes down the middle of my head. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this. I get some comments about my gray hair. I started going gray when I was 14, but I didn't
notice until you pointed it out.
I call this my wisdom stripe. It goes right down the middle of my head, and it's a gray stripe. I look like a skunk. That's why I wear a lot of hair gel in my videos, because it makes it go away. I've been going gray since I was 14. Look at the sides of my hair. I look like the dude.
The skunk.
What's that guy from the Fantastic Four that's got the gray hair? I look like him if I let it grow out. I mean, that's all gray, guys.
Oh yeah, the stretchy dude. What's his name?
I call it
the doctor.
But you know what? If I have to have gray hair, if that's the worst thing I have is gray hair, then I'm doing all right. Anyway, but that's yeah.
Oh, it's funny. Somebody just posted this is Jerry Berg for the WAN show. This is my private Skype to avoid DDoS. Don't share. Freaking Linus.
He's talking about when it crashed and your name popped up.
One time when I was on there, it's so funny. Linus sent me an apology email. It was actually but it was all cool. It was cool. He even though he flashed it up there, a bunch of people sent requests. I got it cleaned up right away and changed what I needed to, and everything's all good. But I just thought it was really funny because it's like, okay, don't show it, and then it popped up. But it was a technical problem. Shit happens. I completely understand.
Yeah. Remind people try to be a review channel only to just do. Remind people don't try to be a gaming review and only okay, let me start over. Jay, remind people to not only be a gaming review channel, basically is what he's saying. Well, if you want to be a gaming review channel, then do that, but just know that there's nothing
wrong with that.
But you also have to know who your audience is, because you're going to really put yourself into a narrow box at that point too. I mean, the nice thing about being a tech reviewer and branding yourself with a name that can branch you out of that box, like Jayztwocents. It's just my opinion. I could talk about anything. My channel could have been about food, obviously. I eat it every day. But the thing is if you put yourself in a super niche audience, like, I don't know if he's watching or not. We're going to use Ubu as an example. He does reviews on Linux-based stuff. Unfortunately, Linux is a very, very, very small market of YouTube. There's 1 billion viewers on YouTube.
Yeah.
But I have to say that
as a desktop operating system, it's very, very small. Yeah.
So you're gonna automatically be fighting a very uphill battle, because there's going to be statistically a very small fraction of that 1 billion people looking for Ubuntu type reviews or Linux gaming type reviews. Maybe in the future, if it becomes more mainstream, since AAA developers are starting to code for Linux, maybe he'll get his shot in the future. But as long as you put yourself in a very narrow box like that, it's going to hurt you. So you need to try and make sure that whatever it is that you're doing, you put a spin on there that makes it entertaining, even if it's a boring topic.
Yeah, no, in my channel, like that's one of the strengths I think that we were talking about when I was down there too, is my channel is very diverse. It's been diverse from the beginning. I do gaming, I do hardware, I do 3D printing, I do whatever I want, pretty much. I even have videos on how to change brakes on your cars and drive rally stuff.
You had a video about changing out your blow-off valve for your turbo.
I do. I even have a video on doing the BOV on the STI. So it's one of those things where it's like, I've established that in the beginning. And some people still don't get that. But another thing that you have to think about is, don't be afraid to do what you want to do, even if it costs you subs. Because remember, the negative people are always going to be 1,000 times louder than the positive people. Yeah. If you get a guy that comes out, like, I'll get these emails from somebody who has subscribed to me, and it's like, dear Barnacles, aka Jerry, I've been subbed to you since 10,000 subs, or even the date that they subbed to me, and I really love your content, but I feel that you're being too goofy now and you're not being realistic.
I get that all the time.
You're just not my audience anymore. I mean, they'll give me this really nice, sometimes it's asshole, but most of the time it's nice, hey, I'm sorry, we got to part ways, goodbye. And so I read that, and when I first started reading those, when I got them, I was like, oh shit, okay, I'm starting to let people down. But then you go read the feedback on the videos, and it's like, everybody loves it, my sub count is up, my view count is up, people are enjoying it overall more. But that particular person just doesn't believe in what I'm doing or doesn't like what I'm doing. And that's fine, you guys. I look at my stats, and monthly, just to let you guys know, I lose 2,000 to 4,000 subscribers every month.
Same here. I think
4,000 people decide that I'm not for them anymore and they leave.
June,
and then 20,000 new ones replace, come in and take their place. But that's your audience basically adapting to you and building to what your content is. I mean, that's a good thing.
June for me was actually a low unsub month. I think I only had about 2,100 unsubs in June, and that was actually pretty low. Typically, we lose about 20% of our subscribers every month, and 20% of the growth, I should say. So
Yeah,
if we gained 15,000 subs a month, we probably lost 20% on top of that. So that's 15,000 on top of the lost 2,500. So we really gained closer to 20,000 in the month. But you guys. And I know when you see your numbers go down, there are days Jerry and I will log in and our number went down by 100, and then it picks up and it fixes itself later because we gain new subs. Look at it this way. Don't treat an unsub as a we hate your channel. Think of it this way, and I know that probably every one of you 700 people in here right now have done this at some point, and if you say you haven't, you're a liar, because I've done it and Jerry's done it. You're watching a video and you go, besides that, you're watching a video and you go, oh, I like this guy, and you hit sub, but you don't come back. And after a while, you see him pop up in your feed, but you don't watch. And originally you go, why am I still subbed to him? I don't even watch. And then you just hit unsub. It wasn't a personal thing. You don't hate the guy. You're just like, I never really went back. So you leave. But what's funny is the amount of people I get who say, hey, Jay, I unsubbed you a year ago. Glad to see you're still growing. I resubbed. And it's like, hey, welcome back. Not, oh, you asshole, you left, I'm mad. Some people.
Yeah, I do get a lot of those too that are like, yeah, no, I unsubbed you, but oh my God, you actually got pretty cool videos now. I'm back. It's like, okay, I didn't know you were gone.
Yeah.
but it's cool.
The unsubs and dislikes, guy. I get some messages from people who are very discouraged by getting that 1 or 2 dislikes.
I've seen that. And when you're small, it's hard because it
makes up
seems like a
percentage.
bigger hit than it is when you're small.
Yeah. Well, I mean, those things are just going to happen.
Skype, come back. Come back, Skype. Okay, there it goes. Wait.
What? Oh, I see that. What I wish.
Come back. Jay's all frozen on my.
You're all staticky. What I wish YouTube would do is require that if somebody unsubs, say why. That's what I wish. Yep, there goes Jerry. All right, so I'll do this solo. KT Minnesota, you asked me if I had any other names I was considering for my channel. Funny story. I don't know if I ever actually told the history of the name of my channel. I was actually on Twitter before I started YouTube, and my Twitter account was Jayztwocents. And when it comes to the spelling, it was Jays. And so I met Holiday Doc, and he was chatting with me, and he helped me start my channel up and get it all branded and stuff. And then I couldn't decide on a really good YouTube name, so I decided to go ahead and just call it Jayztwocents. But I had to use a Z because there was already an S. And the way I came up with Jayztwocents on Twitter was I'm a very opinionated person, like especially in person. In fact, I've been known to make people kind of upset at me because I can kind of have diarrhea of the mouth when it comes to my opinion. And so
maybe if you call me, it'll work.
And at one point, I'm telling the history of Jayztwocents and how that name came about. So there was a while there where people used to tell me like, "Hey, can you hear me?"
Hello.
I'm gonna say no. Okay. So there was a while there where people used to tell me, "Jay, we didn't really ask for your 2 cents." And so finally, I was like, "Okay, fine."
I think Skype is shitting the bed right now.
Will you stop interrupting my story? You can't hear me, can you? No, you can't.
It's funny because it says the connection's fine. I'm watching our stream right now.
And you keep talking over me because you can't hear me. Oh my God! Stalking, pranking YouTube stars like Jay and Cherry is this a good channel? Probably. Okay. Let's see. I hear you clicking. Can you even hear me? Hello. Oh dear Lord. Let's try calling him. See what happens here. Ooh, look, you can see me. Ooh. Can you hear me now?
Check 1, check 2, check 1.
Can you hear me? Oh dear.
Yeah, it says it's trying to load your video.
I don't know what's the matter with this guy. Jerry pays like $800 a month for his internet, and he can't even get his Skype to connect. All right. Maybe there should be subscription intensity levels like circles with Google+. Well, this turned into a sort of a clusterfuck. Are you gonna stop that? Hello? All right, I'm not connecting back to you. All right. Okay, well, Jerry, listen to me in the chat. We're going to go ahead and we're going to end this here, especially since Skype is being stupid for your end. Take another question or two. Jerry is using Titan Z. That's why. Guys, I just want to say that the Titan videos that I did, I really don't care about Titan at all. Like, I don't have any animosity towards it, and I don't have any love for it. It's just there. The videos were just a while back, because I'm personal friends with Boogie2988. Last year I was asking him, like, hey, you know, when you do your Francis videos, where do you get your inspiration from on your rage? And he was like, I just talk about things that I really don't like, but he'll embellish on it. And so I did that initial Titan video where I pretended to be super mad at it. So when the Titan Z launched, of course, I had to do an update for the Titan Z. But in quite honest, I don't care. I don't. If anyone wants to buy it, good for you. I mean, I don't think that's the most cost-effective thing that you could do, but I also don't care about the Titan Z either. Hey Jay, you gonna be doing more Jay Says vlogs? We love those vids, man. Yeah, I really wish I could. I just don't have time right now. Let's see. Barnacles, what is the history of the name of your channel? I know his name is like a mixture of Barnacle and Hercules, but oh my god, things are going fast. Jerry, I need a new internet provider. What internet do you have? I use Time Warner. I have a 100 megabit connection. Jay posting a video looking at himself. Huh? Anyway, must be a problem with the route Skype is using. Let me see if I can reroute it. We're going to go ahead, guys, and hop on out of here. It's been the hour and a half. Thanks for coming back. Sorry we missed last week. I was in New York on business, so I wasn't able to live stream from there, especially since the hotel I was in, their connection was like half a megabit. It was ridiculous, so wouldn't have been possible. You guys have been asking me about the rig update. There it is. That's where it sits still, not really having been touched since I did my last update on it. I plan on spending some of the long weekend of America's birthday to do some work on it. And remember, like I said, I have to tear parts out of my current rig right now, which I'm using to stream this video, or this live stream. So I have to time it just right. So that's why we haven't done any more. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. All 700 of you, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the stream, make sure you hit that like button. Follow us on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. All this stuff is right there on the screen. Best way to get a hold of us, quite honestly, is Twitter. We can read those messages. There's only 140 characters. And, of course, you can email us or take your chances with YouTube inbox. But, guys, we're going to go ahead and get the heck on out of here. Jerry, I know you can hear me a minute after I say it, but thanks for coming tonight. And as always, guys, we hope to see you in the next one. And it's going to take me a minute to get over here and turn this thing off because I'm not quite prepared. And that's how this thing goes. Okay. Bye.